I told you before, very often, to get away from pagan Christianity. I told you to get away from religion in general, but especially from pagan Christianity, because pagan Christianity poses as true Christianity, but it's the opposite. And not only that, pagan Christianity teaches you many self-destructive, suicidal things. Yes, I've said suicidal. Not literal suicide, in which you literally kill your body immediately, but if you follow pagan Christianity in the long term, it's the same as committing suicide over time. Because the things that pagan Christianity teaches you, they teach you based on twisting scripture. So they pick scripture, they put it out of context, or they use your lack of understanding of the background of a scripture to lie to you. For example, turn the other cheek. If you don't know the background of the culture back then you will not understand what Christ really meant. But a lot of people don't understand it, so that's how they can trick you in all types of teachings that don't add up. But okay, about pagan Christianity, when you look at it carefully, it is as if Satan wants a class of victims that can keep the world system going. Because worldly people, or say common people, they can only continue when they can dump their waste energies on selected victims. Now the biblical revelation over time revealed the horror of this worldly mechanism, and therefore it has become ineffective. But common people still need an outlet for their negative energy. Now, due to the humanitarian development throughout history, which is also derived from biblical revelation, which reveals the true value of human beings. Because of this, it has become very hard to just point out a class of people and label them the victims of society. It's very hard to do that, but still, common people need an outlet for the world to continue. So, when you look at it carefully, pagan Christianity is turning people into sacrificial victims. Yes, that's what pagan Christianity is doing. Just think about it. Pagan Christianity teaches you not to hold people accountable. Pagan Christianity teaches you to honor your parents unconditionally, even if they go against Christ and deny Christ. Even if your parents are abusive or self-destructive, you are told to give them space of influence upon you. If someone is self-destructive and you give them a place of influence over you, you'll be drawn into the self-destruction and you'll be destroyed. And it's not God's will for you to be destroyed. Yet pagan Christianity teaches you to honor parents and relatives above all, no matter how negative they are. That's not biblical. That's even against common sense. That's even against nature. But pagan Christianity teaches you this. I mean, if you look carefully at pagan Christianity, it's producing a narcissistic entitled victim class. That is what pagan Christianity is doing. Let me explain. Pagan Christianity teaches you that, at least many denominations teach you that you are a child of God, so you deserve the best. But at the same time, you have the prosperity teaching and all those other false teachings that come that gives you a sense of entitlement that's not in line with Christ. Now, people in the world, say common people, will notice this sense of entitlement and they'll take offense at it. And when worldly people take offense at it, they are going to take out their rage at you. And next thing, because Satan and his fallen angels do provide a counterfeit prosperity to pagan Christians, worldly people will become more enraged because now they see that not only are those Christians, at least according to the word, just Christians, but not all those Christians arrogant and self-entitled, now they also have dominance in economics, so now we have to put up with them. So what's going to happen? The rage of common people will turn on those churchgoers who claim to follow Christ. So when society is intoxicated with negative energy, who becomes the target? Pagan Christians. And because real believers have been persecuted throughout history, it becomes very hard to distinguish who's a real believer and who's just a pagan Christian. So to bring confusion, the enemy uses pagan Christianity. So when you have two people that claim they're persecuted for their faith, one is a pagan Christian, the other is a real believer, how are you going to distinguish the two? Often you can't. That's the confusion the enemy has brought. But for those who have discernment, they can see through it all, and they can recognize the real believers. Now, I'm not teaching you here how to recognize a real believer. I'm just pointing out to you, pagan Christianity produces a class of self-entitled narcissistic victims. That is what pagan Christianity produces. I mean, isn't it amazing how pagan Christians claim they have the right to operate in darkness and at the same time they are okay with Christ? What? Didn't Christ himself said, why do you call me Lord when you don't do as I say? If you don't agree with Christ, you don't agree with his word, you don't agree with his vision, why do you even acknowledge him as Lord if you still go against him? Yet pagan Christians, they contradict themselves all the time. Look, many of those pagan Christians will turn on real believers, and some of them will even kill real believers and think they're doing God a service. Christ said this will happen. This would happen. It has happened already throughout history, and don't think it can happen today also. So look, the best thing to do as a real believer is to keep pagan Christians at a distance. I don't care how kind and nice they are following the beast. They are agreeing with a system of narcissism. And because they are deceived, to such an extent, the enemy can use them against you. So stop giving the enemy ammunition. That being said, be at peace.